And welcome. Hi. Welcome to, I don't know what you call this, Thursday, Lambda Labs, going over for week one, Fridays. And I have a little tiny, it's not a presentation, but just a couple things I want to run by everybody for what to expect. So, congratulations. Here we are. We're almost done our first week, which is great. The worst is over. I think I could speak as a former lab person that the first week was probably the roughest patch. There's a lot of feeling around the dark for a light switch. There's a lot of moving parts. You're trying to find your footing. You're having deployment issues. It's some of it's not fun. So I think that you're going to be in a much better place after this week. So tomorrow and every subsequent Friday leading until the fifth and final week of labs, we have a couple, I guess, rituals we have. Namely, one, we'll have our one-on-one check-in with our project manager. And this is, and I'll go into detail with this during the little Notion doc that I prepared, but this is going to be kind of, as it sounds, like a one-on-one that you're going to have to go over anything that maybe worked, didn't work, things that if you have concerns about your team, if you're having things that just aren't working out, and maybe you just don't feel comfortable bringing it up in the group stand up. These are confidential, just you and your PM. So, if there's something that you want to talk about in private, here's a perfect opportunity. Otherwise, any blockers that you're having, sometimes you don't realize that you have something that's really messing up your flow until Friday when it comes to the end of the week, and you realize wow, I thought we were going to have this done for sure. So those are things that you can bring up during the one-on-one. Also, you'll give yourself a rating. Let me just go to the document. I think that would be just to make a lot more sense. So let's see. Great. Awesome. So if you can't tell, I'm kind of going off the dome with this right now. So bear with me. So welcome to the Lambda Labs Friday. So the first and foremost thing that you'll submit to us, we're going to need one, the developer journal. So developer journal is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a log that you keep. Ideally, you're touching on this throughout the week, but I know how it goes. Most of the time you're writing down all these details Friday morning, frankly, trying to remember everything that happened. And, I guess it's my due diligence right now to say that don't do that. Keep it throughout the week. But I would be a hypocrite if I said that, because I was exactly the same. So no matter how you decide to do it, Friday, when you put together the dev journal, it's going to touch over a couple things. One, you're going to provide 1, 2, 3, 4, count them, 4 tickets that you worked on. And what do I mean by ticket? I mean a particular feature that you worked on, a bug that you squashed. It could be a UI element that you flexed with. Basically anything that you can put into a pull request that isn't, something as arbitrary as changing a class name. It has to be a significant thing that you worked on. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged, implementation of a feature that didn't exist before, but it has to be of some significance. And if you have any questions about if you want more detail on that, you can send me a message and say, I don't know if this would count as one, but I'm sure if you can come up with something, it's good enough. And if not, your PM will tell you. So of the 4, you need at least 1 pertaining to the back end and 1 pertaining to the front end, which I understand could be a little bit cloudy in the first week because maybe you don't have a front end fully realized. So if that's the case, just bring it up to your PM when you're going through it, and I'm sure that we can, work it out. In terms of each ticket that you have, you need to have a link to the pull request link, and then a link to the Trello card. And I have a little diagram here for where to find a pull request that's already been drug in. So when you go to your repo page, you'll have this pull request tab on the top, and you click on that, and then that'll bring you to the open pull request. So you can click on the closed section. It's going to be on top of all your active pull requests, and it'll take you to the list of pull requests that are in the past that you've moved on from. And I have a screenshot here. This is from another, I think this is from Huffman King, who's the PM. He sent me an example of a developer journal entry that he did, and he laid it out pretty nicely, I think, here, with just on the top, he just has like all four of them. Boom, 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 you know. And you could describe what it is that they're doing, but you might touch on that later on in the journal. So this is the main idea, just 4 tickets, 2 links each. For the Trello card, in order to get that link, that's just a matter of when you open Trello, when you click on the card that pertains to what it is that you worked on, you'll see the address change in the URL bar. So if you were to click on, say, like navbar, if there's a navbar card in your Trello flow, when you click on the navbar card, it'll have the URL in the address bar. So just copy that URL and then use that as the link. So then after that, after you provide all that with the cards and everything, you're gonna give a paragraph. So 6 to 8 sentences, like it's gotta be more than just, you know, a couple sentences of I worked on UI, it was good, you know, Thor hungry. It has to, you gotta use some language to help us understand what it was that you did. It doesn't, I mean, I know that this is a little bit ambitious. Again, this is Huffman, who is always overachieving, but you know, give us like 6 to 8 sentences of what you worked on. You know, I'm sure you're going to have more than enough to talk about. I know that you guys have more than 6 to 8 sentences to describe what you've been going through this week and things and the rocks that you've overturned, and you know, so talk about it. Tell us about it. And this is going to specifically talk about things that you worked on. So let's say I'm on a team with Josh and Matt and Amber and Pat, the 5 of us were on the squad, and I was, you know, quote unquote, I was working on Stripe implementation, for example. So that'll be that could be the thing that I talk about specifically. Like, this is what I worked on Stripe. I had to consult the API docs, and you know, the docs were really helpful. But then I ran into this thing. I didn't see that happening, but then in the end, you know, hey, it worked out, or it didn't work out. It doesn't have to have a happy ending. You know, it could be a bad ending. It could be I still haven't figured it out, and I'm really frustrated about it. After that, you talk about the team dynamic. So this is kind of going to be something similar to part 1, except you're just going to touch on, you know, you're going to not refer to just yourself, but kind of like as a whole. Josh, Matt, Amber, Pat, and I. Overall, I think we're finally coming around. Once we hit that speed bump with Stripe, you know, Pat turned out to be a little bit more insightful with Stripe. So he hopped on with me, and while we were working on that, you know, Amber was able to flex on the UI, and she did a really good job at this one thing. I want to give her a shout out for this. Or, you know, it doesn't, again, this also does not have to be positive. You could also choose some concerns of maybe the team dynamic just isn't, like, you're not feeling it. Maybe there's some tension in the ranks. You know, it's okay for you to share these things. It's not, you know, you're submitting these to us, so you can be a little candid if you have some misgivings or some concerns about the team. It's going to be fine. Just you're not broadcasting it for the whole team. And lastly, my favorite part, the detailed analysis. So this is where you would get a little microscope with like one particular thing that you encountered that maybe didn't go your way. It didn't, you were a little hung up and dry with it. You had some trouble with, like, let's look at Huffman's example. He was doing something with Redux here. So this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be like a problem. It could also just be like something I learned that I never encountered before. But so he's got like a paragraph here talking about the actions that he's using for an Axios call in Redux, and he's got some real heady screenshots to go along with it, which is like really encouraged. Like, the screenshot is so helpful when you're trying to communicate to somebody something that you're talking about when it comes to code. Like, if you can't share a screen, like try describing a situation that you have in programming, like just with your mouth when you're trying to describe something with like Redux. It's really hard, right? So unless you actually have like a syntax example or a screenshot, it's it just makes it that much easier for you to communicate that um, to somebody like a PM. So, this could be a paragraph. You can keep going. I think he's got a couple paragraphs here. Um, but those are the three things that we're looking for in the dev journal. Having said all that, the dev journal can be submitted. It used to be, up until I believe last cohort, we would have to start a Gatsby blog. We'd have to like hook up a Gatsby blog on our own and then have that as like our developer journal. Since I believe this cohort, we've nixed that because it turned out to be kind of like a pain point for some people, because it turns out that setting up Gatsby was a little bit more complicated than for some people than others. So we kind of just took it back and decided, if you want to submit it to us through a Google Doc, through a Notion like this, if you want to do it through Evernote, you can do it through MS Paint. It doesn't make a difference. The only thing is that it has to be linkable. You have to be able to send a link to your PM. Just here's my dev journal. Can't send it with plain text. You can't attach it as like a markdown file. You just got to have it hosted somewhere. So I think the Google Doc way is the best way to do it. But if you have a server, you could also upload like your own markdown file, however you want to do it. If you want to cook up your own Gatsby too, that's also really cool. Plus, it's like a really good way to learn how to use something like Gatsby. But whatever you want to do. After you submit that and the daily Airtable, once we get those two from you, then we'll put you in queue to have the one-on-one that we talked about. Ideally, we like to try to get these done before lunch, but I know that it's not always realistic. Sometimes the mornings are a little bit busier. So it might get scattered out throughout the day. But at some point, the earlier the better. That way we can get them all in and squared away, so we can get the one-on-one going before the presentation start later in the day. And these can, they add up. These could be from like 10 minutes to sometimes they can go on for like 20 minutes. I've had some one-on-ones that, sometimes they got a little carried away and they went on way longer than we thought they were. And then next thing I know, it's like I got 9 other students that I have to do one with. So as you can imagine, it might take a little while to get them all. So like I said, as soon as you can get it in, that's completely great and ideal and awesome. Okay, so I think I jawed on enough about that. The last thing is the weekly retrospective, which is another Airtable form, which is great. I know we love Airtable forms. I'm just being sarcastic. I hate Airtable. I want nothing to do with Airtable, but these are really helpful for us when it comes to people working with labs behind the scenes and the PMs, your PMs. It's like these Airtables are kind of what help us realize, like, hey, it looks like this Gatsby thing is just like not working for people. Maybe it's just like a huge pain in the ass, and it's not. It's just it's not. We should do something different, or maybe we discover that Trello cards are really hard to like link. Maybe there's just like some way, like we should ask for another way of them supplying Trello cards. I don't know. It could be anything. It could be things that you want to submit anonymously to the labs team of we need more time for this, or we don't want check-ins this early. Why do we have stand-up meetings every single day? Or good things. You could also say nice things. It doesn't always have to be complaints or misgivings. Yes, great. Yeah, I'm gonna give a link to this along with the I think Huffman's journal entry, so you guys have something to rip on, guys and girls. So the weekly retrospective, it's pretty quick. The main thing from it is your self rating that you give yourself for the week. So 1 to 3 stars. You're feeling like you got to go on Bossa Nova, you really knocked it out for the week, then yeah, hell yeah, give yourself 3 stars. If you got through and nothing terrible happens and you got your work done, you got a 2. And if you think that maybe you're struggling and like you want to reach out for some more help, maybe just like, I don't know, you're not feeling something is just not working for you, you can give yourself a 1. It's cool. It doesn't mean nothing bad is going to happen. It just means it helps us understand like where you are And I think that's the gist of the weekly retrospective. It's not very long. Between that and the morning retrospective, they're like 2 minutes fill out. So please remember to send those in. I know it's like at the end of the day, sometimes you forget them, but then it's like the cat and mouse game of chasing people on Monday morning to submit them, and that sucks. Like nobody wants to do that. Lastly, if you don't have the forms, you got this keyword labs forms, and a robot will spit out the forms for you as you no doubt remember. So I think that's it. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover with what happens tomorrow. And now that that's done, if there's any questions, I'm here. You can ask me anything that I can help you with for tomorrow.
If you had to give an estimate, Ed, you did a Gatsby blog for your Labs journal, right?
I did. Yeah.
If you had to put a time estimate on like how long that takes to set up or how long that took you, what would you pin that at?
For me, it was like a half hour or so. And there's a video, I'll throw it in the channel once we're done, that there was a former lab student from like labs 6 or 7 put together. It was like a tutorial of how to set up. It's a Dado CMS. Dado CMS is like I guess like the flavor. It's a Gatsby server that you're deploying to Netlify.
Okay.
And it's like it's not the best or the most intuitive, but it gets the job done. And yeah, it's probably like a half hour tops. So I'll find that link and throw it to you. And if you have any trouble with the Gatsby deployment, let me know, because I had to do it a couple times for like previous students. So I think I got it down to a science.
Fair enough. Full disclosure, if that gets to be too squirrely, I'll probably just move to Google Docs. But
yeah, totally. I mean, for most people, I feel like it's, unless you actually want an excuse, like if you, Gatsby is something that I'm pretty hyped about, but I never had a reason to use it because like I'm not a blogger. I don't really do single like pages, like static sites for people anymore. So, you know, for me, it was kind of just like, okay, cool. This is like a good excuse to like learn technology. And that's why they originally had it as like a mandatory thing, because they wanted people to just kind of dip their toe in and just, you know, play around with the static site generator.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that when it comes to the dev journal, the whole concept, like, Ed, why are we doing this? Why do we even need this in the first place? The reason being is that they thought the powers that be, the people who come up with the things we do with Lambda, their whole idea of a developer journal is it's a worthwhile skill for being able to communicate about what it is that you're doing in a way that you can showcase on a portfolio page. A lot of like good developers that I see online on a portfolio page, and I'm trying to like bite their portfolio, like, you know, trying to make my portfolio page better. I go to theirs and see what they do differently. And a lot of them have a blog that actually has like, they're pretty good at describing the things that they're working through, of learning a new framework, or of just like I don't know, like personal quagmires of working with teams. Like it's a worthwhile skill, and I'm glad that they make us do this. I wasn't at first, but I think that it's definitely something. It's a good skill to develop, and if you get through these 5 weeks and never want to do it again, you know, it's not something that you're going to. But if you realize that maybe I'm kind of good at talking about this sort of thing or documenting this sort of thing, it's definitely something worth cutting your teeth with, I think.
So Ed, I just want to clarify that they do have to have the Trello and the PR links, because I was told that they had moved that into the Sprint form and that they didn't have to put it in the blogs anymore. But so I just want to clarify with you.
Oh, really? That's new to me. You might be right. I don't know. Casey, do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure. We should probably double check with Brian, because I do remember him talking about that last cohort, but then we were still putting them in the blogs. So
okay,
we might have finally switched over.
Well, either way, even if it's if that is not the case, you know, it'd just be a matter of just a quick Control-C, Control-V. You're just copy and pasting links, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal if it is or it isn't.
Either way, the links are required. It's just we'll clear up whether it's just in the Airtable or the dev journal as well.
Cool. Anybody else? Okay. Well, if you have any other questions after we close out, I'll be online, and you reach out to me, reach out to Casey, reach out to Brian, Joshua. We're all receptive and want to hear from you. So great, awesome, congratulations on making it this far. I'm like really stoked. I think for the first week, like comparatively speaking, these groups are like just light years ahead of like where some other groups have been on the first week. So I want you to know I'm not just saying that to buddy you up or whatever. I'm like really, really hype on the progress that all three of these teams have made. I think it's gonna be like smooth sailing these next few weeks, but yeah, cool, awesome. So thanks for jumping in with me, and I'll post the link to this recording for anybody that missed it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you around.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Mhm.